Well, Fug, we're back here again. So, just a couple days after our last encounter, had an opportunity to repair, to get things stripped. We've largely stripped down that locus that we found for parts and weapons. General plan is that we're gonna just repair the damage that's on it, but then strip it of anything potentially useful, put it in mothballs, and see if we need to refurbish it, but then probably sell it at the end of the contract. However, for right now, we've got incoming. Start of the week, Monday, when we get new assignments, we have a hold the line defender. However, what it's targeting is Firebrand Lance, our training lance. Unfortunately, it looks like the Draconis are coming hard. They've actually decided to hit where we're organized, the landing pad. We've managed to engage them with our trainee unit a little bit of a ways away. And reinforcements are en route, but whether they'll arrive in time depends on this dice. So, we've got a fight unit and a recon unit that are currently, or a scout unit and a fight unit that are currently out there but unengaged this week. As such, they could show up as reinforcements. I probably explained this all before, but just to cover it again, a recon unit, since it moves faster, can show up at any battle when it doesn't have one for the week, on a roll of 5 or 6 on 1d6. An unassigned fight unit, which is designed to go looking for trouble, can shift if they have no other no other duty during the week. However, they need a full 6. So, let's start with Central, our heavy. They need a 6. Can they get it? No. Alright, fingers crossed. How about Big Sky? They were recently repaired and were able to get back out there after just a little bit of minimal scuff. So maybe on a 5 or 6, they're ready to roll. No. Alright. So, this is intriguing. This is our lightest lance. It consists of 3 lights, 3 lights and 1 medium, a Wolverine that's piloted by a green pilot who hasn't gotten enough time to get training in yet. The enemy we're coming across, well, honestly doesn't seem too bad. We've got a Scorpion Light Tank, Pegasus Scout, a Vedette, what we've been dealing with previously, a Wasp, a Firestarter, a Locust, and a Whitworth. The Wasp, the Firestarter, and the Locust are all light mechs, and it looks like they're piloted by regular to a little bit more inexperienced pilots. For the Inner Sphere, 4, this first one is your gunnery skill, is generally normal, that for a regular, and 5 is your piloting skill, is generally normal for a regular as well. Anyone who has higher numbers, remember in Battletech you're attempting to roll under numbers, or no wait, sorry, equal to or over numbers. So the lower your numbers, the better they are. So the higher their numbers, the worse they are. Like this guy, he's just not that great of a tank crew. The Whitworth is a medium, and if I remember correctly, one that's got a fair number of autocannons involved in it. Can I actually, well, I could edit it, but I'd rather just look at it after we get into the fight. Now, just like before, they do have reinforcements coming. Pegasus Scout, Galleon Light Tank, a Vedette Medium, and a Maxim Heavy Hover Transport. These are not terribly concerning, but they could overwhelm our lightly armed mechs. So, in order to win, we need to destroy 1/3 of the enemy units while keeping 1/2 of our starting forces intact. So the enemy has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 initially, meaning we'd probably have to knock out 3 of them to get them initially, and then are reinforced by 1, 2, 3, 4, so a total of 12. In order to destroy 1/3 of the enemy units, we're going to have to knock out 4 of them then. Now, since they've got a lot of vehicles, that might be doable, but we will be bringing weak sauce guys. What do we have helping us out? Well, a commando by someone who's, okay, decently skilled, and a locust by someone who is less so. And there's 11. Alright, hang on just a moment. Okay, so that shouldn't cause a problem anymore. These are both light mechs again. Now, the Commando is a heavier light mech, so at least they sent something heavier than 20s, and they were able to do pretty good work with the 20s that they had, so let's not sell them short. Now, this is a Flatlands map in a Dust Bowl. That's going to be some pretty open terrain. Uh, we don't have a heck of a lot of long-range stuff, but neither does the enemy. The Vedettes do with their AC-5s, but honestly, nothing that's too concerning. Daylight clear. We're probably going to need that because our light mechs aren't the best trained in the world. So we could probably get every advantage we can get in terms of accuracy. In that case, the re-roll seems pretty unnecessary. Pretty much what it boils down to. We have to keep half of our forces intact, which means that let's see here, must destroy while keeping one half. So if we lose more than one half, we're done with. We would need to lose three for that to happen. So we actually would need to take losses out of our own people. But for the enemy, if we destroy one third of them, either three or four when their reinforcements show up, we can push them from the battlefield and claim that sweet, sweet salvage. So let's get going. Never get never get tired of that. That's how you know you're alive. Anyway, looks like everything has been set up and good to go. Uh, the map will automatically generate when we get down there. Let's see what we have to deal with. Looks like we get to deploy relatively late. That can be good. Oh boy. Well, they were not kidding about Dust Bowl. There is a small hill, and that is it. Ah, and you're deploying in the center. So, pretty much our options are start lower or start higher, and honestly, we're going to be spotted from everywhere we are regardless. I figure let's deploy close to the center as we can, and at least then we'll have some options in how we respond to the enemy's deployment. So down you go, Katie. Alright, our ally deployed over there, so we may need to put some extra people on him to help. If we can focus down some of these enemies, maybe deploying some folks to focus on that scorpion, we might be able to cinch this one quick. Our Wolverine is thick, but unfortunately so's its pilot. It's going to be one of the heaviest mechs on this field, but I just can't trust Pia here to get much done, in spite of her cool nickname, Daggers, which I thought I'd rename these mechs to carry. Well, whatever. Let's go ahead and put her out here. On the second thought, that's just a good way to get surrounded. No, let's stick to the center. The enemy will have a mild range advantage on us with these Vedettes and their AC-5s, but honestly nothing to panic about. No reason to spread myself thin. Instead, if I stay clustered, focus my fire, and pick my targets, I'll have a better chance of coming out of this alive. Alright, the enemies got the Whitworth down. Let me double check that. So the Whitworth is a weight 40, so that's definitely a medium mech, but on the lightest possible shade of medium. It's got armor that is in line with that. It's not a heck of a lot more than you'd see on a heavy light, and it is packing a respectable amount of weapons. Three medium lasers and two LRM-10s do give it a fair amount of ranged punch. But problem with inner sphere LRMs is they're really easy to baffle. Get within 5 texes of them, and they pretty much become useless. So probably we're going to have to rush up on top of him in order to avoid getting pummeled with those. To that end, let's see here. Now the Hornet is entirely a brawler mech. As such, best place for you is really going to be up front, sorry to say. And lastly, our Commando. Also a brawler, also up front. Yeah, they just pretty much put all their eggs in one basket over here. They've got a fire starter up here that hopefully our allies will go and single out. The fire starter isn't terribly heavy armed. It's just got a... Well, I take that back. No, actually, those flamers aren't terribly impressive. They're like machine guns in damage. That said, it does have a piss load of those machine guns. This one's facing rear, so not as important, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That can put down an appreciable amount of damage over time, but it can't fire all of those all the time. The heat would rip it apart. It's only got the standard engine heat sinks. Then again, the AI seems a little fond of going heavy on the heat. In any case, we've got a clump of enemies around here, and really our only good answer is to try to take them out. I do not like that Pegasus. 2 SRM6s can quickly stack on the damage. Unfortunately, probably that's got to be our first attack, our first target. After all, they are weak, and if we can get it pinned down, we can prevent it from moving, which is its main way of avoiding damage. I think that this is a good place for the Commando. Okay. Looks like we move in around the middle. Except for our Commando, who will go pretty late to the end. But that Pegasus is going to get away from us no matter what we do. That's a pain. Well, nothing to be done for it. Alright. So the enemy's already made their opening moves with their mechs. Now, we do have a fair amount of jump capability in this squad, if I remember correctly. Yeah, the Hornet has a fair amount of jump, as does the Wasp, as does the Wolverine. I don't think the Commando does. Yeah, but the fact that they have approached so closely means that they've already kind of invalidated their Whitworth's long-range missiles. Now, what kind of locust is this? The SRM2 version? Nothing extremely terrifying, except for the fact that we are, once again, entirely made up of light mechs. So our own Hornet, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Unfortunately, they have put themselves out of range for me to easily get behind them. But I can probably mitigate some of the worst of the damage that they can do. We'll want to avoid getting close to that Whitworth. With its kick, it could do an appreciable amount of damage, despite its size, and our fragile legs are spindly and prone to breaking. Probably we'll want to just kind of focus up on one of these. I'd really love to get that Pegasus, but unfortunately I don't think that's going to be in the cards this turn since it rolled so damn well on initiative. I think for our first turn, our best option is honestly just going to be go gang up and bully the Locust. Hope that we can knock it down. Quick check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Worst case scenario, our Wolverine can jump jet over there. But since the Wolverine has movement of 5, run of 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it's also going to be able to walk in front of it. Now, I do not mind putting that Wolverine dead center on that Locust to receive kicks and deliver kicks. That said, unfortunately, Pia's not the best pilot, so she may not be terribly reliable for those kicks. Anyway, for right now, we gotta get this Hornet moving. Speed is going to be our ally here. Now this is interesting. 2 hexes. Is it because this is some kind of rough terrain? Ah, it may be sand, which is going to slow us down significantly. Good news is it slows down the enemy too, but that might put a bit of a kink in my plan. We're honestly going to want to try to get as many of these weapons on target each turn as possible. So, honestly, that only moves 3. We may have a slight advantage if we use our jump capability to its utmost. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As that will allow us to maneuver around the enemy far better than they can. I mean, their Locust could potentially, I think. Actually, no. Yeah, Locust got no jump. Whitworth has some jump, and in fact, probably did jump. Yeah, look at that. But as long as we leverage our jump, we can move pretty quickly. That said, quick double check. A move of 5 is still only worth mod 2, so a move of 3 is also worth mod 2. So no real point in the jump right now. Let's instead just do a run. It'll save us on penalties. That vidette is going to make a nuisance of itself. I just know it. These vedettes are actually going to be a problem here. They may just be packing AC5s, but AC5s are pretty dangerous to weak sauce guys like us. And unfortunately, a problem with that is that they've also got long range. We're going to have some problems with them, I think. Yeah, we're definitely looking at a double penalty on movement on this terrain. Is that because this is sand, or is this because this is rocky? Not entirely sure yet. We'll figure out once we get down on the ground. For right now, it's all just about figuring out how to get shots on chumps. And this looks like a way to get some shots on some chumps. Although, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one has a jump of 6. That could put some pretty big penalty on the enemy. Now granted, just as much of a penalty as we're getting on ourselves, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Allows us to hit kinda in the back arc. Might be my best bet right now. So let's make it happen. Now this Wolverine also needs to jump, because I want it front and center at their attention. It is heavily armored. I want it to be their target. That damn Pegasus is going to screw me over. I just know it. Alright, the Commando is currently a brawler. We just got to get it into play. And this is the best way I can think. This is going to be a sloppy, messy... Well, that is a curious predicament, because it looks like that Pegasus may have just delivered itself on a silver platter. Now, what kind of damage it can do before I finish it off, God only knows. But I honestly say, this turn, just alpha it. Alpha the hell out of it. Fire everything on that Pegasus and try to take it the hell down before it can get any further. So, let's just pay attention to heat and nothing else. 1 off of the small laser, 4 with the medium laser, 7 with that. Yeah, we can fire everything. Do it. frickin' do it. That's a 10, don't care, fire it. That's an 8, fire it. That's an 8, fire it. Same here. You got a 9 because you jumped. But whatever. Fire it, fire it. Over here, you've got some heat exchange to actually worry about. So let's take a look at what's most efficient for you. You've got 5 heat built up, 8, 11, and this would cost 4. That would put you up to 15, which honestly isn't too huge. It's just 1 over. So let's not do the large laser, but instead toss out a medium, and then SRM6s for some extra poppage. And then lastly, you've got a 3, and a 4. You build up 10 total. If we fired everything, you'd be pushing up 12. Which, honestly, we can deal with a 12. I think we need to alpha this sucker right now. So fire everything. Okay, let's look at the damage. Whitworth missed entirely. Glad to hear it. That LRM 10 is a lot more accurate than I expected. So, that's something to be worried about. The Locusts... Oh, yeah, the Whitworth with targeting our enemies. The Locust managed to get its laser in. This is bad. We do not have a hell of a lot of armor on any of these lights. See, this 1-5 damage leaves us with almost nothing on that left arm. We are going to take some serious damage this fight. Okay, there goes the right torso armor on our friendly commando. Alright, but we managed to deliver something back, although, Jesus. I mean, I guess statistically that's okay, but still, we're gonna need better than that. Like this, we do manage to get a hit on the side, a critical, stunning the crew, so that Pegasus is going to be out of action next turn. Well, I mean, at least not doing anything. Or at least not firing, if I remember what crude stun does. Our Lyran is taking it to that Scorpion light tank. Appreciate that. Woof. Whiffs on the commando. Don't like that. Okay, this is not great. Alright, that critical didn't do anything, but Laura took a hit to the head, manages to stay conscious, but that's going to be something for the doc to look at. And our friendly Locust actually managed to score a nice hit on the motive systems twice. So that sucker is going to be slowed down. That's excellent. That Scorpion light tank. Still though, not a great turn for us. We missed a lot of shots that we kind of needed to hit, and haven't done a heck of a lot of damage to the enemy. Meanwhile, we're teetering on the brink. I guess that's a bit extreme, but we just can't afford to take a shitload of damage. So how good are you at kicking? 2 hit 8. I have to say, I don't feel real confident about that. Biggest problem being that we just don't have... if we miss, we fall. And this guy, he's a 5. Normal, you know, should manage to keep his feet, but there's a fair chance that he won't. Like, it's just not worth risking it right now. Not for 4 damage. Over here, yeah, I would not take that at all. She is not cut out for this. But a punch, even though it's not going to hit, it doesn't cost us anything to try it. So may as well. Alright, missed us, but managed to keep its feet, despite the fact that it's kind of a garbage pilot. Not as garbage as ours, though. Alright, it's got that going for it. Built up a little bit of heat this turn. That fire starter is just going to town. He is going to melt if he keeps up at that pace. So did the Whitworth. Now that's going to put some penalties on it, and that's one thing that we do have at least. I'm a little more judicious with my use. Alright, looks like that Pegasus will be going before most of our guys, so we'll have an opportunity to chase it down and finish it off. We've got our Hornet going first. Now that's not great. Weapons on the Hornet are generally light. Given that the enemy has already shown a penchant for targeting the Hornet, I have a feeling that they're going to kind of zero in on it. It is one of the lightest armored mechs here, and their target priority might just be about whatever mech you can nuke first, do it. As such, better part of Valor might just be to skedaddle as much as possible. Just jump the hell away from combat right now. Eh. You won't be in a good position to engage right now, but on the next turn, you can find somewhere to situate yourself. In the meantime, it's going to mess with the enemy's targeting priorities. Okay, so that thing did move, but it's stunned, it can't fire. So we need to chase it down. Two squares, 2 hexes of movement. The Whitworth won't have a great time targeting us from that range out. The Vidette might be better. But that would be perfect range for getting a nice easy hit on that. We have to rely on speed. It's the only thing we'll have going for us in keeping beams off of destroying us. I need to be moving at least 3 each time. That positioning means that I won't be able to kick the Locust, but, actually, that's a point. I want the Wolverine I can't rely on to kick. This Wasp, I can kind of. It's not great, though. I just don't think I can rely on kicking terribly much. And in any case, this prevents this guy and this guy from any chance of getting back shots on me. So, and the Wolverine, well, the Wolverine might take some back shots. Let's be fair. It can take them, kind of. Not really. Okay, that's not great. I should have seen that one coming, but he did it by jumping, so that's going to mess with his shooting as much as it would have messed with mine. Now this Hornet doesn't have a lot of guys in his engagement envelope. This thing is going to be hard as hell to hit. This Vidette is worth something, and this is, yeah. Pretty much he's looking at 11s, 10s, and 12s, and none of those are particularly great. But if we're going to take shots, let's take the shots where we can get them. A 10, probably on the front arc. Against a Vidette, just not going to make much of a difference. Instead, let's risk it for the 11. It probably won't hit, but if it does, it'll strip off a fair bit of armor on a Locust. Not going to bother with the SRM, though. Oh, hell. We've got 24 shots, and each one that we unload is, a little extra cost back at base, granted, but is one less explosion when that thing craters on a crit. I would fire you if I can. Over here, our objective is the same as it was last turn. Get that hover tank. We built up a fair bit of heat just getting here, so we have to chill out a little bit. Dickwad. We've got 4 up, so a double dose of 3 would build up just enough for us to get back down. So let's take it a little easy, toss out a medium laser and an SRM-4. Over here, we would have to really try to overcome the heat on this bad boy. Honestly, it's the same thing. Just laser and SRM. You still have the same heat juggling to worry about. But at 3, you can probably afford to just toss out everything. Yeah. Although curious. No, I see. Yep, see what you can do to land shots on chumps, and by chumps I mean that hover tank. The sooner we can nuke it, the sooner we're one closer to seizing this match. Remember, we gotta take out 3 of these guys, 4 if their reinforcements show up. Okay, let's see how things turned out. Misses from the Draconis, I like that. Misses from the Draconis, I like that. Misses from us, I don't like that, but this is from the Hornet that jumped away. Wasn't terribly likely. Hits from our allies, I always do like that. They have immobilized that Pegasus. All of our shooting at it is a little ridiculous, but hey, let's just finalize it, you know? Make sure that it's not a threat. That means mostly we have to worry about incoming damage. The Locust has... This Locust is a headhunter. Or at the very least, these Draconis are. That's another shot to the head. And unfortunately... Well, no, our guy manages to stay up, but... Ugh. And that Whitworth is getting hits with its LRM-10 that I wouldn't think it possible of doing. It might be that he's got a skill in it, because he's getting some really good hits off of still being so close. He's unfortunately into the center torso internal structure on our friendly Locust, and that means it's not long for this world. We managed to bully the Pegasus more, although not nearly as much as I'd like to see. Let's see here. And the friendly Lyran actually also managed to take out the Scorpion Light tank with a lucky hit on its fuel tank. So we are actually 2 up. Just a quick check, making sure I wasn't... Nope, Pegasus Scout and a Scorpion Light. We are actually 2 down. We just need to take out one more of these guys and seize this quickly. They'll be just so flabbergasted by the damage that we did so fast. Physical attacks. How are you on the kicking? You are actually pretty good on the kicking right now. I think that we can risk that, especially because that could potentially put some nice damage on the legs of this thing. Make that happen. Can you punch that? Oh, you could just kick this thing. No reason to. Same for you. Hey, we managed to knock out one of its heat sinks and put some pretty serious damage on its right leg. A critical hit through armor also. Not bad. Unfortunately, we took one in return. We don't have much armor remaining on our own leg. Afterwards, we both managed to stay upright. These guys aren't great pilots, but they roll like crazy. Looks like the enemy is still kind of riding the line on that heat. Our Hornet is the last thing of ours that goes, which is interesting. That's the one that's positioned far away, so we'll be able to get it into a better position. And that's from the reinforcements, but those still shouldn't be coming for several more turns. the enemy Locust is going to be one of the first to move, and it's all one of the weakest. I think that that's probably our bully target. Well, he certainly looks like he wants to be bullied. That position is not very difficult for us to exploit. The weapon systems on here... This thing isn't... The AI on this isn't smart enough to lay out bait. I'm not dealing with XCOM here. So, it moved there... I honestly don't know what it was targeting when it moved there. I mean, doesn't it have forward-mounted weapon systems? No, it can torso twist to get its arms in play, but only one of them. Well, no, both of them. Both of them. We could try to do a loop around, get behind the fire starter, and I don't know when it goes, but kind of pen it in. Well, it can just go forward and then loop around, but it would have a difficult time getting behind us, so... Honestly, it doesn't seem like a bad plan to me, if I can pull it off. It looks like I can. Okay, that Whitworth is just jiggering in place. The Firestarter jumped behind our friend. Hopefully that means it's going to target it, but there's a chance that it's going to target ours. That's not great. But we pretty much have to focus our efforts on bullying this Locust. It's the best opportunity we're going to have for concluding this fight quickly. So we're going to risk some back shots. Again, not really a smart tactical decision, but one that's made kind of out of desperation. There was an enemy wasp up there? Dang, I didn't even see that thing. Now, one thing I do have in mind is maybe by jumping over here. Well, the problem is the Whitworth can just split his fire. So that doesn't necessarily achieve anything. Not jumping, walking. How can you do? You can actually get within point-blank range of the Whitworth, and although you're not great at kicking and punching, maybe distract it. On the other hand, since I'm just relying on you for volume of fire, it may just be best to have you go where you need to go in order to bully this Locust. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna buy. Bully the Locust. This is officially our mission statement. We're gonna take back shots from this VDAT. I don't like that, but the problem is, yeah, this is a Hail Mary to try to nuke this thing ASAP, because the longer this fight goes, the more likely we are to lose someone on just a bad critical roll. Bigger mechs can live through, can work battles of attrition. Small mechs, you are a hair's breadth away from being destroyed in every shot. I mean, that's technically true for all mechs, but it's especially true if you're a light. So, let's once again just fire everything and hope that weight of numbers will make right. Laser, SRM. You actually have a better chance to hit with that large laser over there than you do here, weirdly enough. That's an interesting thought. But the Whitworth is... How armored is that Whitworth? I remember it being kind of light. Yeah, kind of light, but no one hit is likely to actually put a dent in it. As opposed to the Locust. where if we hit it with one of our large lasers pretty much anywhere, that sucker's toast. Yeah, this is one of those variants that mounted an extra weapon in return for shedding all of its armor. So, the question is, large, yeah, just medium SRM. Pop it. Each one of these has only a 16% chance of hitting. But if it hits, it's going to do some critical damage. Well, not the light, but if it hits a damaged area, it's going to do some critical damage. In fact, with that in mind, hang on. Quick rebalance. 3, 8, 15. Let's see here. So we're already at 5 because of the jump. Or actually, I guess because of heat that we built up last turn, because I don't think we jumped. The large laser is 8. That would put us at 13. Then we're just going further over. So unfortunately, in order to keep my heat under control, 5, 8, 12, 15, yeah. Yeah. And lastly over here, dose it with the small, dose it with the medium, dose it with the SRM. Fingers crossed! Locust misses. I like that. Friendly Commando hits with SRM and is getting into its internal structure. I like that. Our Commando misses entirely. Don't like that. The Whitworth is hitting our Wasp again. We've taken a critical hit on our lower arm. That's going to be something to repair, but much more damage, and we'll be looking for a new arm. Vedette misses, hits, shit. Well, it hit the Wolverine. The Wolverine can take a couple of those. Oh no. Laser opens up our Commando. We take a hit on the engine. And it's over. The center torso is destroyed. That thing is damaged. We've had to bail out. We have lost a mech. Oh no. And that's our lieutenant's mech too. Shit. I'm gonna have to redo everything. Well, this is pretty much a perfect example of what I was talking about. That thing hadn't taken... but these are in the rear. Well, I was asking for that. Now, granted, this thing hit a lot of 8s and 10s when I've been missing a lot. You know, that's BattleTech for you. That's BattleTech. That's any game with dice. The question is, were we able to convert? Did we do enough to actually drop that motherfucker? Our friends took some damage. We've destroyed the left leg of the Locust with our Hornet's fire after our Wolverine softened it up. Then peppered it with a lot of damage all over. The Locust, our Locust friend aimed at a Vedette and pretty much did nothing. That thing fell on its right arm. It's lost a leg, it's lost an arm. It's got no chance of standing up. It's effectively abandoned. So, that thing's done. That's 3. Now the question is, which turn was this? Well, the problem is it's not abandoned yet. Round 2. So, you know, plenty of time before the enemy reinforcements show up. Not gonna kick it. It's effectively dead. They're doing some kicking, the bastards. Fortunately, our Lyran friends are keeping their feet. Heat all around. Alright. Our Wolverine is going to be one of the first things to move, but their fire starter has to move first. That Locust abandons in around the middle of the turn, at which point we can declare GG. Well, I mean, declare GG, I guess, actually means submit defeat, so that's not what we're doing. That's what they'll be doing. I don't want to engage that fire starter directly. Instead, I want to put some pressure on that Whitworth to tell it that if it doesn't move, it's gonna get poked at with lasers. So let's give it a little bit of encouragement to not sit still and kind of get up in its grill. I don't like that though. It's exposing my back, and I've already seen the consequences of doing that. Not that I can do much to not expose my back, sadly. I like a jump. That exposes his back. I mean, this vedette can capitalize on it, but, you know, there's really not much I can do about that. Okay, so the Whitworth went for it, but its LRMs aren't going to be able to do shit at that range. I would put money on it. Are there any enemies that are weak enough that we could conceivably add them to our scrap pile? Probably not. So for this turn, it's pretty much just all going to be a massive conga line of jumping, wherein we go forth and bully that Whitworth in order to teach it what for, but mostly just stack on penalties. Yep, there it is. That's our slash victory. We just have to get to the end of this turn with people still alive. I mean, even if we would have to lose 2 units this turn in order to have a fail state. So, doesn't seem likely to me. Oh hey, that vedette didn't flank anything. I'm super glad to see that. We just have to avoid flanking ourselves. Which this maneuver should do. Come on, baby. Let's do the twist. What he didn't expect was that this particular brand of mech has an extra torso twist to it. So, no matter how clever and cheeky he thought he was breakying, we can still get at him and swat him with absolutely nothing. But, point is, you know, he should feel bad. We've got 5 already. That'll bring us up to 11. You know, honestly, just the standard issue complement of firing everything and hoping one of them smacks. Although not everything. This large laser, you know, would be great if we could actually keep these guys at range, but in an open field like this, it's just brutal. Our Hornet, if it twists, it's not going to be able to get as many shots on that target. If it doesn't twist, it's possible that this thing could fire and hit its rear. And this thing should fire and hit its side, not its rear. So I'm going to err on the side of not taking any damage. I don't have to at this point. And instead, just throw out a couple insult shots at that vedette. You know, if we take it down, excellent. I'll laugh all my way home. Let's see. Now that vedette could still turn and attack us. So, by the same token, I don't want to torso twist and expose my back to it. In that case, I think don't really want to torso twist and expose my back to that guy either. But the SRM4 could... It's not going to convert. There's no way. What kind of rear armor do you have? Yeah, not enough to take even a single AC5. Just don't risk it. Don't risk it. Play it safe. Bring home mechs. For the love of God, bring home mechs. It is so important to bring home mechs at this point. We're already down one, and this campaign's just begun. Yeah, no, that would just mess up my other shot. Okay, the Firestarter decided to take on the enemy, but or take on their ally. So that's not great, but it looks like he's surviving. Well, I guess I owe someone money. What kind of maniac is at those LRMs? Although he is not hitting at the range that I stated, he's hitting at our Locust ally who's further away, but still. We actually did manage to peg the vedette once, but did not actually immobilize it. Worth a shot, you know? More lasers at vedettes. Ally Commando manages to put some damage on the Firestarter's torso. Always like that. AC5s firing all over the joint. Missing and hitting, but fortunately not taking anything down. Alright, this is the Whitworth's last opportunity to make a big impact. I mean, you know, there's literally no problem with doing this, so just swing and see what happens. Well, so it didn't do anything. The enemy kicked our friend's commando and damaged his leg and caused him to fall. But the mech is still present, and we win. We have forced them off the field because we just managed to wipe out pretty much one unit per turn average. Well, okay, one less than that. But they saw that their skirmish that they were hoping was going to overrun us quick wasn't going to turn out that way. So, doing a little bit of post-analysis, can I view the map? Is that possible at this point? No? Alright, then I'll make sure... Oh wait, hang on. It's looking like no. I'll make sure to pause on the map the next time around. So, a little post-combat analysis. We were in a bad position to start with. I always knew that. I thought that maybe by clustering up and picking on targets individually, we would have a good chance of forcing an early victory. But I got overzealous. I'm going to be honest, the move where I ganged up on the back of that wasp and tried to just nuke it down was excessive. The enemy, I exposed myself to the enemy too much. I got overconfident. I relied on the dice, and the dice were kind of on the enemy's side. Not that it helped them win, but it helped them do a lot more damage than they could have if I had just taken it slow and played smart. That said, the problem is I couldn't really afford to take it slow because these are light mechs. They don't have a lot of endurance. They can't get into a slugging match. The longer the fight goes on, the longer something's going to happen. The fact that I gave shots on my back was effectively what spelled the doom of our commando. But if it wasn't then, if I'd backed off and took long shots and tried to draw this out, that would have just brought enemy reinforcements, and eventually they would be able to lay enough shots on my front that it would have been a destruction anyway. This wasn't a heavy mech that I lost to rear shots. This was a light mech. The mech took enough damage on its rear to die that, like, maybe if that damage had been taken on its front or its side, it still would have been close to dying, still might have died off of criticals alone. It's just one of the problems with light mechs. They're really designed to be kind of flankers, but because of the restrictions I have on numbers of mechs and what I can afford to field right now, and the fact that Against the Bot is kind of designed to be one lance versus one lance, and also nearly every time the enemy's bringing reinforcements, because what the hell? It's supposed to be kind of balanced, but you end up in a race against the clock where you have to take out the enemy uh, quickly, and that means pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. Point I was making was that the uh, the light mech has a real big problem in Against the Bot in that it's kind of out of its element. It can't really do scouting because, well, this is BattleTech. We have pretty much perfect knowledge of the board. There are settings that you can put in Mech HQ in order to have like blind deployment and also uh, difficult to spot enemies, but the problem is that you're fighting a bot that's not particularly smart. It can't really think its way around that. It gets easily confused. That's more a setting for fighting a real flesh and blood opponent. They can't really engage in large flanks because there's still only 4 mechs to the squad. And Against the Bot rules say that we use basic inner sphere principles for lance size. A lance is 4 mechs. You can go as large as 6 if you are using an oversized lance, or as small as 3 if you have an underforce, but anything other than that is not a lance. Doesn't let you deploy it. It's a balance issue in Against the Bot because, otherwise you'd always field like huge piles of mechs, whereas they're designed to just spawn a certain number of mechs and their uh, elements, and the size of your group doesn't determine that they roll more mechs. It determines that they roll bigger mechs, tougher mechs, on a higher degree of RAT table, effectively. So we we made some mistakes, but unfortunately those mistakes were kind of born of desperation and the knowledge that if we didn't expose ourselves to danger now, we were going to eventually expose ourselves to danger just through sheer attrition. The enemy had a lot more tonnage than us, they could bring a lot more weapons to bear, and unfortunately this was our training group, so we just didn't have a hell of a lot to back them up with anyway. Now, the post-op on this is that we are down a light mech, but let's see that what we can salvage off of this mission. Thank you. Yes, please. We did control the battlefield because we did win against, some odds. So, our commando's not a total loss. We still get it back. It's possible that we could get it back into working order. Its center, wait, no, it's not. Its center torso was crypt. That's like one of the few pieces you cannot replace. You can't replace a center torso. You can't replace a busted engine. Either of those, and you no longer have a mech. So, commando's toast. Our ally kept both of theirs. They were still alive at the end of the game, so go them. We took a bounce on our Hornet. The headshots. The headshots. The enemy escaped with a fair number of their units, but they did leave behind a crippled scout and a crippled locust, and I could have sworn that they had an exploded. Well, maybe it exploded so hard. Right, it exploded so hard because its fuel tank went up that there was nothing left of it. This locust, we tore off its right arm, its right leg, its left leg, but it's still potentially possible that we could make a whole mech out of this. Not to mention, we also have that other locust that we recovered. So at the very least, it may be possible to piece together a mech to put our pilot into. But that said, it may be better part of Valor just to not. We put out a training mission in the hopes of getting some XP on our one green, but that really exposed a very sensitive group of mechs to fire that they really didn't need to be exposed to. The wiser decision is just to keep these guys at base camp. Don't deploy them, don't put them in danger's reach. Just keep them at home. Maybe we'll see if we can't reorganize the groups as they are to try to field some of those light mechs into positions where they can be useful. Maybe replace that urban mech that we currently have in Big Sky Lance. But for right now, I'm afraid Firebrand Lance just kind of took a hit that was a bit too big. Even though we just lost one mech, that's an entire mech. That's something that we cannot easily replace. We can try to get this thing online, this Locust, but this is a 20-ton mech. It's a light mech. It's just going to be another headache bringing these into battle, as much as the last one was. I think that we need to save our light mechs as emergency reinforcements if we can't get anyone operational and just need to fill out tonnage on a squad. And in the meantime, we need to resource up any mediums we can get our hands on. Mediums, heavies, assaults. And against the bot, these are the ones that are going to excel, because they're the ones that can afford to get into attrition matches with the bot, who will kind of follow suicide paths and fling himself into harm's way in order to be able to do the most damage in a turn, because, well, it's just looking to do the most damage in a turn. In any case, yes, we're totally taking that. It's worth a lot of dosh. We probably actually could select this in a manner to rip off our, yeah, we totally can rip the hell off of our employer. But they only get mad if your percentage is over by the end of the whole contract. So, just bear with us, dude. This hover tank, I don't know. It's got a nice punch, but I don't think I'd want to field it because they are fragile bitches. I mean, you saw how easily this one kind of crumpled under some light damage, and this one didn't even take that much damage. It got to scuffs on its armor and on its armor, but it was all through armor criticals that uh, these things are really bad about taking. It got shot in its fans too much, and then it just didn't have the will to go on. It's not something I'd want to field, but I will totally acquire it so that I can sell it. I kind of wish I had a mechanic so that I could do a little bit of repair on these things to make them worth more, but that wasn't in the cards before we got here. Did we manage to capture anyone? No, they all got off scot-free. Whatever. Back to your homes, you. I wonder if that's working right, because I feel like we should be capturing some number of these. Oh well, I won't question it too much. Ugh. Now here's the embarrassing part. Now that Locust was partially ours. That one I'm going to go ahead and give to our lieutenant, because we did put some damage on that sucker. We also put some damage on the Pegasus, but the kill ultimately came from a, well, that one was abandoned also. So that one, I'm probably going to give to, I gotta give it to the private, because she needs it. Besides, she put some shots on it. I'm reasonably certain. The Scorpion tank was killed by our allies. We got no claim to that. And so that's it. War. War is often annoying.